A crow lands on a branch. It looks around. Then it picks up a stick. Not randomly. Not by accident. It trims it, shapes it, turns it into a tiny hook. Then it pushes that hook into a hole and pulls out food it could never reach with its beak alone. Now pause for a second. Because if an early human did this with a piece of stone, we would call it the beginning of technology. But when a bird does it, we usually call it a trick. So here's the strange question. Are birds already living in their Stone Age? At first that sounds ridiculous. Birds do not build houses. They do not write things down. They do not sit around planning civilizations. But the deeper you look, the less simple the answer becomes. Because some birds are not just using tools. They are choosing tools. They are shaping tools. They are remembering tools. And in some cases, they seem to know that one tool is more valuable than another. That is not normal animal behavior. That is the first uncomfortable part. The second part is even stranger. Birds are not just animals that live beside dinosaurs. Birds are dinosaurs. Modern birds are the surviving branch of theropod dinosaurs, the same broad family that once included raptors and tyrannosaurs. So when a crow makes a tool, you are not watching a random bird perform a cute stunt. You are watching a living dinosaur descendant solve a problem with technology. And that changes the question completely. Maybe dinosaurs never reached the Stone Age. But maybe their descendants are touching the first step. To understand this, we need to be careful with the word Stone Age. The human Stone Age was not just one person picking up one rock. It was a long period where humans and human relatives used tools, improved survival, learned from each other, and slowly built the foundation for culture. Stone tools mattered. But the real breakthrough was not only the stone, it was the idea. A tool means an animal can look at the world and think, my body is not enough. But this object can extend what my body can do. That is a huge mental step. A hand is useful. A beak is useful. But a tool is different. A tool is borrowed power. And some birds understand this better than we ever expected. The best example is the New Caledonian Crow. This bird lives on islands in the South Pacific, and it has become famous among scientists for one reason. It makes tools. Not just uses them, makes them. It can take plant material, cut it, shape it, and create a hook tool to pull insects or meat from tight spaces. A hook is not obvious. A straight stick can poke. A hook can grab. That tiny curve changes everything. It turns a twig into a machine. And the crow is not using fingers to do this. It is using a beak and feet. Imagine trying to carve a useful tool while holding everything with your mouth. That is basically what this bird is doing. And then scientists saw something even stranger. Some New Caledonian crows can combine separate pieces into one longer tool. Think about what that means. If one short piece cannot reach the food, the bird can connect pieces together until the tool becomes long enough. That is not simply use stick, get food. That is closer to planning. It means the bird understands that two useless parts can become one useful object. That idea is one of the foundations of technology. A wheel alone is not a cart. A handle alone is not an axe. A sharp stone alone is not a spear. Civilization is built on the ability to combine things. And a crow, with a brain smaller than a walnut, can show a simple version of that. But this is where the story gets even more interesting. Some crows do not treat all tools equally. Researchers have found that New Caledonian crows can treat better tools as more valuable. They keep certain tools safer. They hold on to them more carefully, almost like a worker protecting a favorite knife, or a carpenter keeping track of the best hammer. That sounds small, but it means the bird is not only using a tool, it may be judging the tool. This is where the phrase bird-brained starts to collapse. For a long time, humans assumed bird brains were simple because they were small. But small does not always mean weak. A smartphone is smaller than an old computer, but it can do far more. Bird brains are compact, efficient, densely packed. Crows, ravens, and parrots do not think like humans, but they are not simple machines either. They remember faces. They solve puzzles. They hide food. They watch who is watching them. A raven that hides food may return later and move it if another raven saw the hiding place. That means it is not just thinking about food. It is thinking about another mind. It is asking, in its own way, what does that other bird know? That is a frighteningly advanced kind of intelligence. And this is why the Stone Age question works. Because the first step toward civilization is not a city. It is not a palace. It is not even fire. The first step is a mind that can imagine a solution before the solution exists. A crow looking at a twig and seeing a hook is doing something very different from a bird pecking at the ground. It is seeing possibility. But before we get carried away, we need to ask the harder question. If birds are so smart, why are they not building things? Why is there no crow village? Why is there no raven workshop? Why is there no parrot library? This is where the dream starts to break. Because intelligence is not enough. Civilization needs the right body. Humans had hands. Not just hands. Fingers, thumbs, grip, precision. We could hold one object steady while changing it with another object. That sounds small, but it may be one of the biggest advantages in the history of life. Birds have beaks and feet. They can do amazing things with them. But there is a ceiling. A beak can hold. A beak can pull. A beak can shape. But it is not the same as two hands working together. Try tying your shoes using only your mouth. Now imagine building a hut that way. That is the bird problem. Their minds may reach toward technology, but their bodies pull them back. Then there is fire. Fire changed everything for humans. Fire gave warmth, protection, cooked food, more calories, harder tools, later pottery, metal, industry. Without fire, the ladder of technology loses many of its steps. Now some birds may interact with fire in nature. They may use burning landscapes to catch fleeing prey. But that is not the same as controlling fire as a technology. A crow may understand tools, but it cannot gather wood, strike sparks, maintain flames, cook food, and protect that fire across generations. Without controlled fire, there is no Bronze Age, no Iron Age, no engines, no cities glowing at night. So birds may have the first page of a Stone Age story, but they do not have the next chapters. There is another missing piece. Cumulative culture. This is the quiet superpower of humans. One human discovers something. Another human learns it. A third improves it. A fourth teaches it to children. Over time, knowledge grows larger than any one brain. That is civilization. A bird may learn from another bird. A crow may copy a useful method. Some birds may even have local traditions, but human culture became a memory system outside the body. Stories, symbols, drawings, writing, schools, books, screens. A crow can pass on behavior. Humans pass on worlds. Still, the bird story is not small, because it shows that intelligence is not a straight road leading only to humans. Evolution has been experimenting everywhere. In the ocean, dolphins developed social intelligence. On seafloors, octopuses developed problem-solving bodies with nervous systems spread through their arms. In forests and cities, crows learned to treat the human world like a puzzle box. A city street is ordinary to us. To a crow, it can become a tool. Some birds drop nuts onto roads and wait for cars to crack them open. That is not exactly a Stone Age tool. It is stranger. It is an animal using human technology without understanding human technology. The car becomes a rock. The road becomes an anvil. The traffic light becomes timing. That kind of behavior forces a bigger question. What is intelligence, really? Maybe intelligence is not one thing. Maybe there are many kinds of minds, each trapped inside a different body. A dolphin may be brilliant, but it has no hands and no fire. An octopus may solve puzzles, but many species live short lives, so knowledge struggles to accumulate. A chimp may use tools, but its culture does not compound like ours did. And birds? Birds may have memory, planning, tool use, social learning, and long lives in some species. But they are missing the physical bridge between intelligence and civilization. That bridge is manipulation. The ability to take an idea inside the head and force the outside world to match it. Humans did that with hands. Birds try to do it with beaks. And honestly, the fact that they get as far as they do is astonishing. So are birds already living in their Stone Age? The honest answer is, not yet. Not in the human sense. They are not building a technological civilization. They are not on a clear path to becoming the next humans. But the more interesting answer is this. Some birds may be living near the edge of a Stone Age. They have touched the ingredients, tools, planning, memory, social learning, problem solving. They are not building cities, but they are showing us how a mind begins to push beyond the limits of its body. And maybe that is the real beginning. Not a stone tool, not a fire, not a village, but one creature looking at an object and realizing, this can help me become more than I am. Millions of years ago, one branch of dinosaurs disappeared. Another branch survived. It grew feathers. It learned to fly. It filled the sky. And now, in forests and cities, some of those descendants are picking up sticks, shaping hooks, hiding food, watching each other, solving problems, and quietly challenging the idea that humans are the only builders of the future. Maybe birds are not in their Stone Age, but they may be standing outside the door. And for a living dinosaur, that is already incredible.